Cinema St. Louis's The Lens is now the takeup.com, a place to gather after the film is over. I'm your host, Joshua Ray, and fear not, all your favorite episodes of The Lens featuring all your favorite guests are still here in your feed, just a little refocused. Stay subscribed to us here for future episodes, and you can follow along for new ones and more at the Takeup STL. Thank you for joining us on The Lens, a Cinema St. Louis podcast. I'm Joshua Ray, programmer and critic. I am joined by Kayla McCullough, critic, programmer, social media manager. Hey, Kayla.
Hi.
And Andrew Wyatt, critic, programmer, and managing editor of Cinema St. Louis's film site, The Lens. Hey, Andrew.
Hello.
Well, you can find our words at The Lens on cinemastlouis.org. Every other week, we take turns picking a film to focus on. On this episode, Andrew has selected The Parent Trap, Nancy Meyers' debut directorial effort as a part of our Nancy Nora miniseries. First, we'll cover some new and upcoming releases. Then after the Lens portion, we're going to play Dead Ringers in the rules of the game. Finally, we all have one more thing. Let me just say that I don't think anything else this year will make me as angry as Blonde made me.
It's kind of why my sounds like my worst fears were for
your worst fears have come to fruition. It is a load of shit. It's not good. Can I tell you why, though? It's like, I understand what he was after. Let's get in the head of Marilyn Monroe or Norma Jean Baker. Is that her name? Norma Jean Baker, right? Norma Jean. And like find this great dissonance between this very public, iconic persona and the private person that she was. But it is a film that is relentless in its wallowing of her misery. He wants this figure to be one thing, and that is someone who is continuously abused. Everything that happens in it, it's based on Joyce Carol Oates' novel, but everything that happens in it you're somewhat familiar with, and it's not like he's telling lies. He's not out of school and telling the story. It's the way that he chose to do it. He wants her to be a victim, and it's really gross, the kinds of things that he does in glamorizing it. And I get why he's trying to break the icon status of images and goes to great lengths to recreate a lot of those iconic images, but then will do things like there are two shots of her while she's getting an abortion from inside her vagina as mechanisms are entering the camera. It's
That sounds like
really
a horror movie.
Well, that's his whole idea, is that she had this really horrific life. She did, but people contain multitudes. And for him, all she is this vessel for abuse. And then it also gets into like really wonky anti-choice sentiment with those abortions in particular. I don't know. I just found it really disgusting. It's almost 3 hours long. I'm really curious. Netflix says, oh, we get this, 8 million viewers for this thing, but it's always like they made it 10 minutes in. I really want to know how far people are going to make it into this thing, because it is instantly pretty wackadoodle, but also like dour. He said that it will be very controversial and everything. Well, he made it to be controversial. I don't think it says anything new about Marilyn or Norma Jean. It doesn't say anything new about, breaking down someone in icon status. What it does is it formally does some new things, and he's just really throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. Not a damn bit of it sticks. Yes, a very irritating almost 3 hours from Andrew Dominic.
Yeah, that's very disappointing. I've always liked him as a filmmaker, and that seems to be the opinion that's congealing, is that it's just 3 hours of misery porn and says nothing about Marilyn herself.
It's yeah. And I feel really awful for Ana de Armas at this point because there's a good performance in there. It is very impression. She's not given much to do other than say, "Daddy," and cry and like have her head pushed in pillows. And it's just, oh, it just really was a aggravating experience. I found it deplorable. Yeah. Like Pearl is kind of the opposite of that because it's like a very miserable experience, but gleefully so.
I think it's obvious now that we have a sneak peek. For those who don't know, we now have a sort of a teaser, I guess, of the third movie in the X trilogy, which Ty West has made, or is made. I guess it's in production now.
Yeah.
That's going to be a sequel to X. So let me back up here. So people don't know Pearl, which just came out, is a prequel, like a literal 80-year, or no, I guess it's like 60-year prequel to X, the movie he came out with, I guess, earlier this spring. And now he's making a sequel to X as well. And it's pretty obvious that like each one is made in a completely different style. Like they're connected narratively, but it's almost like he's treating it as an experiment where to allow him to make three radically different stylistic films.
Yeah,
And
he's sort of adopting popular horror aesthetics of the time for each of these films. And well,
except
you can kind of
Pearl almost feels like, I don't know. I got big Wizard of Oz vibes from it. It feels like a
I did
classic
too.
Technicolor film.
Yeah, it's like Dorothy got lost in whatever happened to Baby Jane. But it's the sort of classical filmmaking, the turnaround new Hollywood where, whatever you want to call it, hag horror, or what's a probably better term is what, psycho biddy films of stars, of yesteryear who go psychotic, but they're also typically classically told, but then drenched in blood and campy mayhem. I think you probably like this one more than me, but I do like it more than X.
Oh, see, I'm
So
the
you
other
can
way
do the
around.
algebra there.
I like X a lot. Alex is probably one of my favorite films of 2022. And I liked this one as well, but maybe marginally less so. But I'm still wrapping my head around it. I think that's a good thing. Like I'm still trying to think about what it's doing beyond the surface level sort of formal experiment aspects of it. And Mia Goth's performance, which is always a pleasure to watch. But beyond that,
Remarkable.
yeah, beyond that, I'm trying to think. I'm still sort of wrestling with what it's doing and what it's saying, if anything. So,
Right, that's my problem, if anything. I think, like X, it has ideas on its mind about depiction and specifically exploitation of the female body and of sex on the screen. But I don't know, as a showcase for Mia Goth, and should be said, executive producer credit on this and co-writing credit with Ty West. It is a really glorious showcase for her. This is a spoiler, so fast forward about 30 seconds. The monologue that she has, it's like almost 10 minutes. It's so fucking good. Okay.
right. And I do love the way that West creates tension, not just in the content of the monologue, but by creating an awareness in the audience that he hasn't yet cut away to the sister-in-law yet. And every second in that monologue that passes, we're clenched a little tighter, waiting for the moment when he cuts to the sister-in-law's reaction to what she's saying. It just goes on and on and on. And you're
And
just waiting for what is the end game here? Like, how is she going to react to hearing these things?
the end game is really good. It's like what you would expect it to be,
Yeah.
but when she delivers it, it's just really great.
And then
Yeah.
followed by a really exceptional sort of moving, I don't want to spoil it, a moving sort of shot down the alley, down the driveway of this farmhouse that just, it's just an absolute killer. I need to wrestle with a little more. I think it's doing some really interesting things with respect to how serial killers in particular, like the serial killer is now such a pop culture archetype, such a pop culture creature. I think he's doing some interesting things with how we derive entertainment from serial killers A lot of sort of born versus made things are going on, I think, under the surface, that I don't think really get resolved until that big barn burner monologue at the end, where we start to maybe pull back the curtain a little bit on Pearl's psychology in a way that the film has sort of resisted doing up until the point that that monologue occurs. But yeah, I liked it a lot. I think if you liked X, you're going to like this. Like, so if anybody saw X and is not sure whether the prequel is going to be worth your time, it absolutely is. Just be aware that it's just stylistically a completely different animal.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I don't know. Did you say the title of the third is Maxine with triple X
Triple
in the
X,
middle, of course?
which I think I've seen some stuff that it's about like Hollywood in the 1980s, or maybe like the gray area between the adult film industry and legitimate film industry in the 1980s.
I've
It'd be
seen
really
that. It's called
interesting.
Body Double.
That too.
I'm down for that, of course. And then you saw another horror film that you liked, right? The Danish film?
Speak No Evil. Yeah, I liked it. I don't want to talk much about it
Okay.
because it is very much a go in blind kind of film.
Where is it? How can I see it?
It's on Shudder right now.
Oh, great.
I think it's playing in some theaters, but not here in St. Louis.
Shudder's doing good things, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, their curation has been really, really good lately. So I saw, so this was, Speak No Evil is a film that premiered at Sundance and made a big splash, a notorious splash, almost you might say, as being a particularly grueling and nasty horror thriller.
Right.
And I actually don't want to say much more about it. I did write a review of it, so if you want to read the full length review, it's at cinemastlouis.org. But big content warnings. It is a horribly uncomfortable, gruesome film, particularly if you're a parent. I don't think that's a spoiler because there are children involved. And but I liked it. I don't think I liked it necessarily in a full-throated way that some other critics have, but I do recommend it if you like that kind of like extreme horror. I think it's worthwhile. I did see another film last week that just premiered on Shudder as well, called Saloum. This is a Senegalese movie. I don't know that I would even necessarily call it horror, although it definitely has horror elements. One of the nice things about Shudder's curation is that they do tend to pick up a lot of weird films, particularly international films, that don't necessarily obviously fall into the horror genre, but are maybe like horror adjacent or horror flavored or something. And this is a good example of the kind of thing that like would have been probably literally impossible for anybody in St. Louis, Missouri to see 40 years ago. You know, a Senegalese indie film that's a weird genre mashup and just sort of defies description. It's made by a Congolese director, Jean-Luc Herbulot, who was educated in Paris but then has since come back to Africa and set up a local film production company with some of his collaborators and friends. And this is one of his sort of marquee projects he produced, filmed in Senegal, I think loosely set in Senegal, though it seems to take place in a slightly fantastical version of the country in the early 2000s. Again,
Yeah,
I don't want to get too much.
Tagline is "Once Upon a Time in Africa." I love that.
Yeah, if you've seen Africa, like small hotspots of African filmmaking throughout the continent in West, East, and South Africa have all been producing sort of really interesting genre pictures lately. If you've seen movies like the South African film Five Fingers from Marseille, or the Ivorian film Night of the Kings, if you like that kind of like weird genre mashup where we've got crime thriller elements and Western elements and occult horror elements and kind of overcranked stylistic Tarantino-esque stuff, this will definitely be for you. I really liked it. It's a good sort of larger than life film. It's got larger than life characters, larger than life situations, creepy, like very specific West African mythology sort of woven into this very familiar Hollywood scenario. 3 mercenaries trapped in a small town that they can't get out of, and weird stuff is happening. It actually has kind of a Dusk Till Dawn structural
Very cool.
flavor, where like it plays as a crime thriller for 30 minutes and then they get stranded in this small town and then it takes a hard left into occult weirdness. So yeah, Saloum, Saloum, on Shudder right now. Highly recommended.
Well, I reviewed another film set in Africa, more specifically, the Kingdom of Dahomey in 1823. I'm talking about the woman king, that's Gina Prince Bythewood's new film starring executive produced by Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, who has another winner on her hands. She's incredible. She plays the general of an all-female militia called the Agoge. And let me say that this is just like I have never really responded to war movies in this way, but it is definitely a war film, but it is incredibly rousing. And some of that is because, you're seeing female warriors doing just really incredible things within these beautifully mounted action set pieces. It's PG-13, but it's very violent. I don't know how they got away with the PG-13. Maybe it's because never mind. Let's not get into that right now. But I'm having a little problem with it though, because I'm researching the actual the historic events that it's ostensibly based on.
Yeah,
Um,
there's been some kerfuffle about the liberties
oh,
taken.
is it kind of going around the web about
Yeah.
I mean, it does acknowledge their role in slave trading, and it complicates the politics of it. Even while you're watching it, you're like, I want to kind of stand up and clap for the victories that they're having throughout. And I don't think that's much of a spoiler because it's a pretty traditionally told narrative, at
Un,
least.
like underdogs vanquishing the Goliath kind of story.
Yes, yes, because they're a tributary state and they are really going to war with this empire, Oyo Empire. And it does acknowledge their role within slave trading and political discussions behind the war and behind the scenes about that specifically. It's just that maybe it wasn't so a black and white as the film portrays it to be, and they weren't quite out of the slave trade business as the film might have it. However, this is not a history lesson. What's
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna go, I mean, you can take two frames about it. One is that like there was a very good article in the New Yorker this weekend about it, about the historical issues. I know that Lupita Nyong'o was involved in this film originally, and then she at some point felt deeply uncomfortable about these specific issues and backed
yeah,
out of it.
yeah.
Um, on the other hand, are we going to start going back? We can start talking about other, sort of action blockbustery Hollywoody films.
That
We're going to
use
talk about movies
history to
like,
their own
yeah, we're
ends.
going to, and not even talking about like, the Mank or the Social Network question about biopics. I'm talking about like these specific kind of war stories. We're going to talk about we're going to dredge up the Patriot again and what a nightmare that was. So we can have
Yeah,
these discussions
yeah.
about a lot of things, but
As a film,
it doesn't absolve the filmmakers of whatever maybe misleading things they put into it, but it
I
does beg
think
the
it's
question of
mostly
like how much are we going to like ride this film in particular when there's a lot of other movies that have done this before.
and a film that has a largely black cast, largely African cast, and with women behind the scenes. I mean, prop it up because it's great. Prop it up because it's an opportunity to see something that we very rarely get to see on depiction, and uh, have the discussion about those things, but don't dismiss it because of that. Especially when I think the marketing is to blame for most of what that is, the controversy. Having seen it, it's built in, it's baked into the narrative to an extent. All right, well, let's talk about one of the female filmmakers that we're focusing on in our mini series and talk about her debut. We're doing Nancy Nora. It's time to get into the Parent Trap. That's Andrew's pick for Nancy Nora.
Annie James and Hallie Parker are about to discover
This is so freaky.
they're both unique in the same way.
That's my mom. That's my dad. And you and I are like sisters. Hallie, we're like twins. I have a brilliant idea. I think we should switch places. I'll go back to London as you, and you go back to California as me. If we switch.
We wanted to do it chronologically because it's an opportunity for us to talk about Nora Ephron's career and Nancy Meyer's career. And so I think you actually sort of claimed the Parent Trap first, and then everything else sort of settled. why did you feel possessed or drawn to revisiting or visiting for the first time? I'm not sure. The Parent Trap.
Yeah, so the first would be that I had not seen this remake before.
Oh, okay.
I had seen the original when I was a kid, 1961 version of The Parent Trap, but I had never seen the remake, which I know is sort of heresy. For maybe I was a little old, but I think for like maybe the uh, middle millennials, like The Parent Trap was the Lohan version of Parent Trap was like a big marker. It was on endless repeats on the Disney Channel or whatever, and a lot of people saw it again, and it was a big sleepover movie for a lot of people, I think. So it just sort of missed me, and I was interested in seeing it and comparing it. And that sort of gets to the second part is I think there are a few remakes or reimaginings in both directors' filmographies. And I thought it would be interesting for us to particularly, since we were kind of, I know that we're going to skip some of the biggies on Nora's end, like You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle, that are ostensibly remakes or retellings of classic films. I thought we should probably pick up at least one remake somewhere. And I was really interested, having seen the original a few times and never seen the remake. I was kind of wanting to use this as a way to talk about remakes and how they're done, and what in particular Nancy Meyers I think brings to this one. So spoiler alert, having seen both, I do think that her version is superior, and we can get into why that is and how that works, like how that fits into the dynamic of how you do a remake.
Same. I don't think I could ever watch the original Parent Trap again. I was when this I saw this for the first time probably just 2 years ago. And this time rewatching it, I forgot that the first thing that pops up is a title card that says like 1986. I am 1 month younger than the twins in the Parent Trap.
Okay.
It made me feel really weird. It made me feel weird, but it wasn't like a thing for me. Kayla, you're a little younger than me. Wait, a lot younger than me. Was it a thing for you growing up, Parent Trap? This one?
Yeah, I think all of that. Yeah, I've never seen the original. I've only ever seen this version.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to. I think if you're interested in like the Disney Star System, maybe, because that was a Haley Mills vehicle.
It was big, and
And
it was a big hit. It was one of Disney, like
yeah,
of that Disney live action era from the 60s and 70s. It was one of the bigger hits that they had.
I would say it's the one that comes to mind immediately,
Mhm.
or, The Love Bug. But the Parent Trap, I think, is probably the one, and probably the one that's most critically appreciated. I don't know. It
Question
doesn't
mark?
question mark. Well, it doesn't have that kind of like Disney 60s and 70s live action crap sheen on it. I don't know. I've recently watched a few of them and was like, how this is barely a movie. Maybe that and then
It does
Freaky
have good.
Friday, which is
I mean,
good.
it does have feel like a movie. Like it has big Technicolor 1961 style sets.
Yeah.
Like you would expect from a decently budgeted film in this era. It doesn't look like direct to DVD nonsense.
So Kayla, do you like this movie?
Yeah, I love this movie.
Oh, okay. Good. Because you're a huge Nancy Meyers fan. I'm just wondering, like, for me, I think it might be on the lower tier because I like a few of her films a lot more than this, but I think there's a lot special going on in here. I'm kind of sort of mixed on The Parent Trap. Where does it rank for you?
That's hard to say. I think it's just because like I said, like I grew up with this one, so I don't know how I
Mm,
feel if I watched it like as an adult now for the first time. I think that like there will just always be like the nostalgia around it, or like the connection I feel to it, like just watching it as a child. And yeah.
it's really hard to disconnect that from something like this, I could imagine, because I didn't have that as a kid, but like, where was this movie for me? I would have loved this thing. I'm the same age. Damn. Yeah, I don't know. So, Andrew, in the Nancy, oof, where is it for you?
I don't know. I feel like it coasts quite a bit on star power, but that's
Mhm.
also true of a lot of Nancy films. Like when I think of Father of the Bride, I think of Steve Martin. You know, I don't necessarily think of its rich mise en scene. I think of like how she very smartly built a whole movie around sort of Steve Martin's sort of bougie insecurity and anxiety about his daughter getting married off. Like that to me is what makes Father of the Bride an interesting film. Um, so I don't know. Like I haven't seen a ton all of her films. I haven't yet seen the one that I think it was Kayla. You picked The Intern. We're watching that, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet, so that's going to be interesting to visit. I've seen The Holiday, What Women Want. I think having watched it back to back with the original 1961 version, I think my estimation of it increased a lot. Like if I had just sort of seen it randomly on the Disney Channel years ago, maybe I wouldn't have a good opinion of it. But one of the things I want to talk about is the things that she does, not only as a director, but as a writer to make the material, to improve the material, I think. Um,
Yeah, because this is a big movie and its narrative structure. Her whole thing, I think people ascribe to her is that her films have way more than 3 acts. I don't know, Kayla, you're a
but
much better writer and a screenplay writer, right? I don't maybe you can help me determine what sort of shape this is because it has a lot of movements that it goes through, and I love
but
that.
it's very similar to the original in that respect. The original, again, having watched them literally back to back, like
Mhm.
it is structural. The original has that same structure. So I'm not sure how much of that is a Nancy thing versus that there's a strong sense of fidelity to the original structure.
So what do you think are the key, like, uh, modulations that she does that makes it superior?
Well, there's a few things. So let's talk about the original briefly. So in the original, um, with Haley Mills, I do think that one of the things the new one has going for it is Lindsay Lohan. And no patch to Haley Mills, who is a charming young actress, but I think Lindsay Lohan's a better like child performer. It's more entertaining to watch her on screen by herself or bouncing off the adults
How
around
is she
her.
so good? Like,
Well,
this is
but
such a
one thing that she
master
does,
class.
but one thing she does right away that I think is important that she makes the girls younger, which I think works
Mm,
better. And um, I think they go from 14 to 11, which
mhm,
I think is a wise move. Because one of the things that, and again, sort of the stereotype of the Nancy Meyers film is that she sets them in the sort of beautiful, town and country magazine version of reality, right? Like that the upper middle class to upper class glossy worlds that her characters inhabits, these beautiful gigantic kitchens and living rooms and spaces. But for this particular story, that works because what Parent Trap fundamentally is a fairy tale, right? It's a
mhm.
fairy tale, and it's particularly a fairy tale for little girls. So I think reducing the age of the main character a little bit so that she's more identifiable for maybe the girls who are watching this, more immediately relatable at any rate, I think works. But it also embeds it in a slightly more like there's a big difference between 11 and 14. Being
Yeah.
11, you can still believe. I almost think that Haley Mills' character comes off as a little, I don't know, unbelievable in some respects because she's doing things that I don't think any properly cynical 14-year-old, even in 1961, would do or buy. She's saying things and doing things that I don't think really stand. But I think of an 11-year-old, it stands. And one of the things that you can argue about the 1998 Parent Trap is that it plays as wish fulfillment. It's a fairy tale,
Mhm.
right? In a lot of different respects. And the things that we might criticize Nancy Meyers about, again, her films sort of take place in this rarefied bubble of bougie privilege, work in this context because everything that's happening to Haley and Annie in the film is essentially a wish fulfillment. Each of them has a parent that they don't have, and it's about giving them that parent. But it's about more than just a parent. That the things that Haley finds when she goes to visit her mom, I think there's a particular scene early on, I think, that is key to understanding what Myers and her collaborators are doing here. And that's when Annie goes to visit her mom for the first time. So they split up. The twins meet at summer camp. They crack their scheme. They then split up and sort of go in their opposite directions. And Haley, quote unquote, Annie, goes back with her mom. And it's not just that she's finding out she has a mom, which is a fantasy that I'm sure like a lot of kids who don't have a mom or have divorced parents or never knew their mother, like that's a fantasy that a lot of people can relate to. But it's not just that. Myers amplifies it by, it's not just that she's meeting her mom, it's that her mom is a fashionable, wealthy British lady. She's living in London in this beautiful flat, and she has a butler, and she's a fashion designer. And she's not just a fashion designer, she fashion designs wedding dresses for the like celebrities and princesses. It's in every way like a little girl fantasy come to life. And there's a great scene, it's almost like a throwaway moment when she first visits her mother. And again, we have to remember that at this point, Haley has never had a mom. She's been living on her dad's, Napa Valley ranch or the vineyard. She goes and she's walking around her mom's bedroom and she's seeing like the jewelry and the perfume and like everything laid out on her vanity. And, Here Comes the Sun comes in the music. It's a beautiful moment for her, for this little girl, because she's almost like walking around in wonder at all the girly girl things that she's never seen before, that she's mentally long associated with. This is what having a mom would be like, would be having this room where all the mom's beautiful things are laid out. And there's this nice little moment that Myers gives us where she's walking around sort of marveling and touching at these things. And I think that's key to understanding that this movie is a fairy tale. It's a fantasy. It's a wish fulfillment fantasy in the purest, nicest sense.
And it's not that they're escaping anything either. They're both children are treated as humans by their parents and value their input, value the experience that they're having as children. And that's what I love about both relationships and how you see the little nuance of them being like, oh, you didn't react that way, or you don't want to eat the chili and the cornbread. And I think that's a really key thing to the idea of it being a fairy tale, because I think the criticisms of the film are probably all logic based, right? And I think those criticisms are actually sort of a part of the text of it, right? And a part of this wish fulfillment that you're talking about. And specifically, we're talking about like, it doesn't really make any sense. Like this could never really occur, but it also feels like a comment on the sorts of films that inspire Nancy Myers and even her work into the future. I mean, she's not expressly always remaking something, but you see the Lubitsch touch in it, and that they're social critiques too. I mean, these are two people who made a very awful decision. I mean, I've never been in that experience and can't say that I would divorce a child as well as a husband that way specifically. And I think that's everyone's criticism. It's like, these are terrible people. Well, it's a decision that they made. And I think it actually adds more value to the relationships themselves than detracts from it. And I love that the way that the Haley and Annie both at separate times are like, they think about that question, right? But they're not as concerned about it because there is a sort of unbreakable bond between parent and child there. And they trust that the right decision was made, but they're challenging it. And that's what I love about it, is they're just so smart and they're written so smartly. And I don't think they're written above their age at all either. I think they're just smart young women.
And that's where I think, again, the aging down is really smart decision, because a 14-year-old would be angrier about the situation than an 11-year-old is.
Right.
An 11-year-old, Haley and Annie just want to create the reconciliation that they know in their heart of hearts is really there. It should have happened a long time ago. Right. And the film's events kind of play that out, that they should have gotten together a long time ago.
absolutely love that bit of the film, that act where, I mean, it's the film, right? It's where they're trying to get the parents to fall back in love. And that's, I think, my favorite part. Maybe the camp part is my favorite. I
Meredith,
don't
like
know.
they
Because
getting her to come up.
it's probably because I also eat Oreos with peanut butter.
I think that it's pretty much the perfect live action, like, Disney film. I think it's the perfect debut for her. All of her elegance, her class, her eye for that particular sort of mise en scene that has, that she's known for. I guess you can tell that it's like the assembling of everything, and then it only became stronger as she was able to do more projects on her own and kind of like this is basically like this like kind of walked so all of her other films could run.
Yeah,
Like
that makes sense.
But
she
the pieces fit together really strongly for a debut film, for a debut directorial.
And I feel like she was probably beholden to the Parent Trap, right?
and I
And
think she's
so
ready and raring to take a crack like at it herself. Like even though like she was like co-director with Charles, I think that the level of oversight and control she had in these films that, kind of set up who she was or who she is as a director. And I think that like, yeah, I just think she was ready. Like she was ready. She had been like watching and perfecting and probably like in her head, on like the other film she worked on, wanting to be like, oh, like I would, try this or that. And so like for the Parent Trap, like I think she was just ready to go, take a swing at it.
there's the sheen of Myers on this that you can really only see retroactively, maybe. It's a golden hue around people. It's this kind of romanticism that I don't think is treacly. It feels empathetic, actually. And it's a part of this sort of fantasy narrative, but I think she's still critical of the lifestyle and the people. Maybe not in this one so much. Elsewhere, I think you can see it where she would develop those ideas of, being in the cable knit sweater, but the cable knit sweater also maybe being too tight to make it into a metaphor. But yeah, so it's interesting because she was essentially the junior part of a partnership, right? At least that's how people perceived it because she worked with Charles Shire so much. And her first screenplay, she has co-writing credit with Charles Shire and someone else, right? That's
Who also was her husband at the time.
so she was married to Charles Shire at the time
Yeah.
of Private Benjamin.
So they got married in 1980. So this was the same year that it came
Okay.
out. So they had worked on it together. They were set up to work on it. Yeah, everyone thought like it wouldn't work, but I mean, they managed to make it work. So then they got married the same year it came out, and then Charles started directing with their next script, which is Irreconcilable Differences in 1984, and Nancy produced her fifth film, The Baby Boom, in 1987. So they were married at the time of
And then Father
me.
of the Bride, and
Yeah.
then Father of the Bride Part 2. But this is the first one where she's gonna be directing, but they broke up in the middle of it, right?
So they broke up, and then they actually ended up separating, like, officially in 1999. And, like, Hallie and Annie are named after her children. Hallie
Yeah.
and Annie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then
Yeah,
Hallie
and that way it feels so personal too, right? It's like, those are
and
my kids.
and they're in it too. So that's fun.
So
Oh, they are? Are they at the camp or where are
They're
they?
yeah.
Oh.
so why is it just dedicated to Hallie?
I
But
think
they're not twins,
I
right?
think
Like
no,
Annie's older, right?
I think the father of the bride is
Mm,
is for Annie. 'Cause
Okay,
Annie, yeah,
that makes
Annie's
sense.
Hallie, and then Hallie, she is a writer, director herself. She wrote and direct Home Again, that came out in like 2017 with Reese Witherspoon.
And, Myers and Shire, and they're, like, still friendly. You
It's
can
so
watch
fun.
that
Yeah.
Parent Trap reunion that Katie Couric did. It's on YouTube, and they're both on it. It does feel really personal when she specifically names the kids after her kids, and then they're going through this breakup, but it's clear now that, we're still your parents. We could swap you and we could do this and that, and you would still have a great life because we have this sort of partnership, even though it might be a psychically connected partnership. I think it's really sweet and a kind of interesting autobiographical move. Maybe it wasn't intended that way, but it does come across that way now. Can we talk about how great Lindsay Lohan is in this? She's
Yeah.
she's often very good, before she kind of lost her way very publicly, and then I think has done a couple of good things, after that. But this is this is crazy. How she's playing essentially four different roles. She's playing Hallie and Annie, and then Annie playing Hallie, and Hallie playing Annie. Add a layer of complication in that A- Annie is from the UK, right? Annie's yes.
Yeah.
No, someone set me
No, you're
straight.
right. Annie is living in Britain with her mom.
Okay, great. Yeah, so she has to learn a British accent, and
Which
it
again, a good change because it adds being from London gives it a whole like an extra fairy tale bent. And in the original, the posh sister has like a weird mid-Atlantic accent, which worked a lot better in 1961 than it would have in a modern. Like she's a Boston Brahmin with this like very specific mid-century accent. And I think relocating the posh sister to London and actually making her mother British, I think is a good change for the better. Again, a lot of really smart, and I don't want to credit Myers exclusively. There's four different writers on this, but a lot of it just feels like she knew what. Again, there's a lot of faithfulness to the structure of the original and to the plot beats of the original, but at the same time, it's obvious that she knew exactly where things needed to be massaged and tweaked. And it's even little things like the big comedy of errors set piece prior to the camping trip in the original film takes place at the dad's ranch in California. Like
mm,
the mom actually shows up at his house to do the girl swap, ostensibly. And Myers relocates that to a hotel where Meredith and the dad are thinking about having their wedding, which I think it's a very intelligent move because it removes the weirdness of the mom showing up and staying at the house
yeah.
in the original, and then it becomes this sort of more classical comedy of errors where you have hotels give you a lot, right? It gives you adjacent
Mhm.
rooms that look the same. It gives you elevators,
Elevators,
lots of great stuff for comedy
stairs,
of errors,
a
farcical stuff.
pool to get thrown
Right.
into.
They make it so that Meredith, so that the other woman knows who the mom is by reputation. Again, because she's a famous wedding dress designer, which dovetails nicely. And like, it means so that Meredith meets her at the bar and recognizes the mom before she learns that she's the ex, which adds an extra layer of nice farcical craziness to it, I think.
But it's also not obvious farce. I mean,
It doesn't get
what's
quite as zany as
Meredith?
Father of the Bride, yes.
No, Meredith's moment when they surprise her very purposely to freak that person out.
Yeah.
What poolside when they're standing on either side of her does that, right? I love the reactions that Tessie and Martin, our favorite queer couple, their reactions aren't like, that sort of farcical mania. Chessie's reaction is like just an outpouring of emotion because she knows, she knows that that Annie exists. And her first reaction is just a tears, it's so sweet and it's so empathetic. That's what I love about Nancy Myers is like she really knows how to toe the line between those things. Like,
There's a
there's
different script too, where Martin is a more villainous or just the butt of more jokes.
Mhm.
But it's interesting how quickly he instantly becomes a co-conspirator with Hallie, Hallie pretending to be Annie. Like
Yeah.
pretty quickly, he immediately figures out what's going on and then decides that he's going to be on her side, mostly because he and Annie were so close. Like we get that from the very first summer camp scene where it's not her mom dropping her off, it's the butler, and they very clearly have a close relationship. And so he decides almost immediately when he figures out what's going on that he's going to be in on the con and help Hallie out.
How long do you think it would take the 3 of us to learn a secret handshake? I would probably never be able to
I'm not
learn
good
it.
at those things.
No, no. Can't dance, can't do secret handshakes. And then I just, it, like most of her films, it's sort of stacked with really great character performances. I'm thinking of Lisa Ann Walter, who's now on Abbott Elementary, and she's sort of been pigeonholed into that sort of character. But Simon Coons plays the butler, Martin. I love Polly Holiday, who plays like the senior camp counselor.
Right.
And she is major Josh Ray not knowing where he is vibes. The part where they're in the line in the cafeteria and she's like, "Oh, you're allergic to strawberries." She's like, "Wait, why are you on my?" It's just like really nice.
That's old school, like mid-century comedy right
Yes.
there. But I do want to talk about sort of the central, a lot of people have talked about implausibility, right? And we're not talking about like comedy of error style implausibility that somebody would figure this out sooner or later. More about the central conceit, right? Like the plot hook of splitting the girls up, like whether that makes any sense or not. And it's interesting that Myers doesn't really confront that as a plausible legal or domestic arrangement. But what she does that's really smart, I think, is change the tone of the relationship a little bit. So in the original, part of what the mom and dad do is that they get together in a room and they instantly start fighting like cats. Like they're still attracted to each other, but there is like a maybe we're bad for each other hostility in their relationship. And again, this is just part of maybe a movie of the time. Part of what the girls do is sort of power through that. And they're saying, well, it doesn't really matter. It's more important that you guys get back together because not having a mom and dad is such a terrible, terrible thing in some conceptual way that we have to put you guys back together. It's more important that you're together for us than however miserable you make each other. And the smart change that Myers makes to the script, and again, weird that she may have been going through a relationship like Fallout at the same time that she's doing this herself, is that she makes it obvious that the mom and dad do still love each other and that they
Yeah.
regret the decision completely to break up. That it's
There's a
almost
lot
like
of guilt there. It's not
Yeah.
explicit, but you can tell within the performances of Natasha Richardson and Dennis Quaid that there's
Well,
guilt
great
that they did that. And
we have great chemistry. That matters
Yes.
too. That they have
God,
that
they're
they have great
so
chemistry.
hot. Yeah.
But the criticism, the narrative criticism that you could lob at this film is that there's not a lot of conflict at the end of the day. That other than the wackiness of the situation in the con that the girls are pulling, there's not a ton of conflict. Really, it's just about getting rid of Meredith. Because once you get rid of Meredith, mom and dad can see clearly that they should not have broken up and that they're meant to be together. But Myers, the subtle misogyny Myers does to the script. I love Dennis Quaid's like sort of mic drop line where he says, "It's between me or them." He's like, he doesn't even hesitate. He's like, "Them?
Yeah, what do you mean?
Duh."
Get out of here if you can make it back.
And I think that speaks to Myers' ethos that she's injecting into the film, which is that the idea that there's no real barrier here other than maybe the pride. Like both mom and dad have a lot of pride, and that
Right.
neither of them are willing to necessarily admit that they may have made a mistake and that this was probably a bad. And because the minute it's telling, again, the minute that mom shows up at the hotel, a little drunk and kind of flailing around, dad's like, he can't not look at her. Like he's obviously still deeply in love with her. She's obviously still deeply in love with him. It's just they made a dumb young mistake, and
Yeah.
they decided that a tiny bit of friction in their relationship meant that they should have broken up, which is a very young thing to do, right? In your 20s.
Yeah.
Just had a kid thing to do.
To as Hitchcock called them, the implausibles, the people in the audience who are like, well, that would never happen. Then turn the movie off. Like You have to invest that this did happen, and here's the fallout from that. This is the story that I'm
And
telling.
and again, having watched them back to back, I absolutely buy the reconciliation between mom and dad. I buy the storybook ending of this in a way that I do not in the original, because both Meyer's script and Clayton Richardson selling that idea that they have never stopped loving each other, and it's really literally the thing that the girls are trying to do, which is to get them in the same room. That really is it. Like, that's the key to getting them to acknowledge it. And I don't buy it as much in the original, where it's like, you guys maybe aren't great for each other, and this is really just like the girls like shoving you together because not having a mom and dad is still kind of a social taboo in 1961. Like,
Yeah.
it feels more as storybook and fairy tale-ish as it feels in Meyer's remake. It feels more emotionally genuine in some ways.
I'll say there are things in this that I don't buy, but are still a lot of fun. Like, how can they be such good fencers? They're 11,
Well, I don't know, they're
but like
prodigies, right?
they're
How-
fucking Errol Flynn.
They're
It's a good scene though.
jumping around all
Yeah, I love the old school Disney vibes of getting thrown into a trough of water. It's so good. I don't love how long it takes for everyone else around them to be like, oh, they fell into a trough of water, and how long it takes for them to sort of recognize that they're fucking twins. It does take a
Well,
little long,
a
but it's
fencing match is
cute.
a great device there, because it means that they can wear the mask, right?
They
It
have to
allows
wear
them to go
masks.
head to head and develop a hatred of each other before they realize that they look identical.
This is Lindsay Lohan's first film
Mhm.
where she's playing two characters, and then the two characters are playing characters. That it comes off because there was so much happening. I love that line from the reunion where Nancy Myers is talking about, usually you choose a take in the editing room and then you sort of build around that. But in this, she says, because they're twins, it's not really something. But sometimes it kind of pops into my mind, like, oh, how did they do that? I didn't really think about that with this. I guess because these two individuals are so interesting as individuals. But she said, when you're doing something like this, you have to choose a take in the moment, because they would play like Lindsay Lohan in her own ear so she could act against herself
Oh.
at
Yeah.
11.
Well, I know it took almost 9 months to shoot, and Nancy is like notoriously like demanding of her actors, like Hitchcock or Kubrick.
Yeah.
Like that level of perfection. Apparently, the scene where Amy and Hallie are laying in the bed, and the camera pans from the moon to like the picture of the parents to the twins. It took 6 hours. Got it.
Oh,
6 hours. And on the scene where Logan steps into the molasses, that one was shot 10 times. So,
how many days
Poor girls.
must that be that you'd like molasses? Oh my God.
I did not
Oh.
know that Nancy Myers is like Kubrickian level intense with
Yeah.
her actors. That's crazy.
I guess the whole bit, and I don't know, it's that like somehow Nancy Myers' retinas can see shades of beige that no one else can. Stupid shit. I love that. Was it a New York Times profile where she really broke her own work down, and specifically criticism of her own work, and was talking about, how people see her films and the framework that everyone sort of assigned to her films as being misogynistic, specifically focusing on design or things that would be typically assigned as female characteristics, whatever that might be. That is true, but I think that's also a sort of plus of Nancy Meyers films in their design. And not only talking about, set design or costumes, but they are designed to the T. And I'm talking about script and her direction, and that it comes across to some people as like calling her as a Kubrickian director, because she has this sort of perfection and or even David Fincher, people like that. But then she gets assigned with being like, oh, she's difficult, to whereas David Fincher's a perfectionist, you
Mhm.
know. But I think she's just such a great classical filmmaker in that her camera has great empathy with the characters and a great eye for the interpersonal relationships between everyone. It's like she's not really ostentatious often. And when she does something like what you were describing, it doesn't like that shot didn't play to me like some grand camera move, but it really is the shot from the moon to the picture to the girls. But she really strikes a balance between ostentatious and I guess a new classicalism.
Yeah, that's a great point because that shot did not. Now that you say that, that shot never registered to me as showy. Yet, like, and I'm not, and I'm saying that in a good way. That like in a
Mhm.
way that maybe a more effortful director would make it clear that I feel every iota of the strain that the production was put under to achieve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve in a particular shot. Like that shot just washed over me as this like tinkly sentimental moment, and it never registered to me. Oh my god, how did they like that? Must have been grueling to choreograph. Which I think is to her. I think it's to the film's benefit that that's not a sentiment. The sentiment that ooh, I'm watching a movie is
Right.
not something that works within the context of a Nancy Meyers film. So if I'm thinking that, it's failing. And I think that she's able to pull that off is pretty impressive.
And it harkens back to some of the influences on her, people she's called out, like Ernst Lubitsch, who did things like that, who moved his camera ostentatiously and moved it in a very performative way. But I think we can only really see that retroactively, as that's a ton camera. How did you move it that way? But what we're really just so wrapped in the moment, we don't necessarily see it for like a meta moment. Someone like, Tarantino or De Palma or someone like that who's doing that as a sort of distancing technique. I'm making a movie.
Let's take a moment to praise Elaine Hendricks, who's playing one of the great evil villains of the 1990s and 2000s kids
Yeah.
movies. Like she is so she's really the only like transparently vile person in the film, right?
Yeah, and she is. I don't know that she really Kayla, do you think she has any redeeming qualities as a character? Not that
No,
she need no.
no.
No, and she doesn't need to. Like, that's perfectly
She's a
fine. I think that's
publicist. Is there any job that is so like all that's a transparently villainous job in
publicist, we love
the
you.
1990s,
Keep
20s,
sending us
2000s
free
movie?
things,
Yeah.
please, and
But
thank
like
you.
that would be an evil job in a
Yeah,
1990s
yeah.
2000s
That
movie.
is kind of a stock evil. All right. Well, let's move on. And next time, we're gonna have a guest on. We're gonna have Brie Maniscalco, the executive director of Cinema St. Louis, is going to talk about Julie and Julia. That's our final Nora Ephron. And then we've got Kayla's pick, The Intern, which I'm so excited about revisiting. But let's go to a game that I made. It's called Dead Ringers. I wonder what it's about.
Oh no.
So this episode, I have devised a game called
Uh-oh.
Dead Ringers. Why would he do that? It is a game about movies with twins in them.
Oh boy. Okay.
Now, the first thing I'll do is give you the year. Maybe that'll put your mind in the right frame. And then the first clue I'm going to give is the tagline of the film. If you can't
Okay.
get it from that, it's going to bounce to the other person. I'm going to give you two actors who are in the film but do not play the twins. And then if you don't get it based upon the two non-twin performers, I will then give you the twin performer. Okay?
Okay.
So let's do it with Parent Trap. I'll say this one's a 1998 film. The tagline is twice the fun, double the trouble. I would give you then Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson. And then finally, Lindsay Lohan.
Okay.
Kayla, you get to go first. Okay? This is a 2002 film. The tagline is from the creator of Redacted comes the story about the creator of Redacted.
The story of comes 2002. Is it like I don't know.
Think about the tagline, how it's really meta.
I don't know. It's probably really obvious and I'm just not catching it.
All right. So, Andrew, I'll give you two actors who do not play the twins. That's Meryl Streep and Chris Cooper.
Adaptation.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So the taglines from the creator of Being John Malkovich comes the story about the creator of Being John Malkovich. And the twins are played by Nicolas Cage. That's Donald and Charlie Kaufman. Donald Kaufman.
That one is a little weird case though, because
Does not
twins
exist.
may not actually exist.
So
even
wait,
in the text of the film, they may not actually exist.
So did they both win the Oscar, the adapted Oscar?
I didn't even remember them winning the screenplay.
No, Charlie Kaufman was nominated, and his brother was also nominated.
That's pretty good. How did his agent swing that?
I don't know, but it's really cute, and it's weird because there are so many like Writers Guild things that go into that. No, it did not win that year for adapted screenplay. That's insane. It did win. Chris Cooper won for supporting.
Why did I think Cooper's win was for American Beauty? It was for this. Okay.
Yes, for that. I'm sorry, not to derail immediately. I'm gonna guess it was The Hours. It was The Pianist. What a cursed fucking year. Anyway, original screenplay, fuck to her. So that's very good. Okay, Andrew, a 1988 film.
Okay.
The tagline is two bodies, two minds, one soul. Separation can be a terrifying thing.
1988?
Uh-huh.
Is it Dead Ringers?
The thing that gave the game its name, Dead Ringers. So we have in Dead Ringers Genevieve Bujold and Heidi von Pulaski, who plays Carrie. Like that movie is such a like trio film that I don't know that last person would have helped you. And of course, the twins are played by Jeremy Irons. The twins. Okay. We have another 1988 film, Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
Only their mother can tell them apart is the tagline. Movie about twins.
Oh, is it just the movie Twins?
It's just the movie Twins. The performers I would have given you are Kelly Preston and David Caruso. I don't remember either of them being in it because it's mostly just the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Yeah,
I've seen that movie I think like a shameful number of times.
I don't think it's shameful. Like that was a huge basic cable rotation. Like,
well, that must be why I remember seeing it.
All right. So Kayla got that one, and it's Andrew's turn. This is a 2011 film.
Okay.
His twin sister is coming for the holidays, and it ain't pretty.
Okay.
2011, twin sister coming for the holidays.
Oh, is it that
pretty?
Is it that terrible Adam Sandler movie, Jack and Jill?
It is Jack and Jill.
Oh God!
From the get, I saw. He's like, "Damn it, I got this one." The two other stars are Katie Holmes and Al Pacino, who plays himself.
Oh dear God! Al Pacino was in that movie.
Yes. Al Pacino needs a paycheck too.
Yeah, I guess so.
And of course,
hence Righteous Kill.
Right. And of course, the twins are played by Adam Sandler. Andrew, 2003, Brothers Stick Together.
I don't know. That's not giving me a lot to work with. I'll pass.
It gives you so much to work with. You're going to be mad at yourself.
I'm sure.
Okay. Two other actors who don't play the twins, Kayla. Eva Mendes and Cher. 2003.
2003?
Brothers Stick Together.
Oh, is it Stuck on You?
It is. Farrelly Brothers Stuck on You. The twins
Share
are
with
played
him
by-
that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like I think it's a cameo, but yeah. Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear play the twins who are
Conjoined.
Conjoined
Be the
twins,
term,
right?
yeah.
All right.
Wow.
Caleb,
Uh-huh.
a 1997 film with actors playing twins. Meet Jackie O. She's elegant, glamorous, and well-bred. When you've got it all, you can get away with murder.
I don't know.
And this one is not, it does not immediately come to mind as a twin movie. Okay,
Wait, what year was this?
1997. Meet Jackie O. She's elegant, glamorous, and well-bred. When you've got it all, you get away with murder. Featuring Genevieve Bujold again and Tori Spelling.
This is not springing to mind. I have no idea.
Kayla, the twins are played by Josh Hamilton and Parker Posey. Maybe only the gays know this movie. You want to take a swing at it, Andrew?
I should know this.
This is The House of Yes.
House of Yes.
House of Yes. A pretty, I guess, a big cult movie, at least for Parker Posey fans. She plays someone who is both obsessed with Jackie Onassis and her brother in a very twisted way.
Is it like a Dangerous Liaisons riff kind of thing?
Nah, kind of. It's based on a play, so it's very theatrical and it's all over one night, of course. He brings his new fiance, who is played by Tori Spelling, who's actually pretty good in this thing, for Thanksgiving. And they are just a really fucked up rich family with a lot of incestuous things happening. Ultimately,
Creepy.
someone dies.
It looks good.
It sounds very nice.
It's interesting. It's interesting. I'll give it that. Parker Posey's great in it, and she's never not good. Okay, Andrew? Is it Andrew, right?
I think, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm losing my way. Okay, this is from 1964.
Okay.
1964. They were twins who once looked exactly alike until.
Again, I feel like I should know this. I don't know. Pass.
Kayla, the people who don't play the twins are Carl Malden and Peter Lawford.
I wish you could give like a genre or something.
Horror. We were talking about Psycho Biddies earlier. This is definitely one of them, but like 1964 horror.
I don't know. Pass.
There's a bonus within this that this actor has played twins twice, and she is Bette Davis.
Oh, I don't know the name of this, but I know the movie you're talking about.
The name of the movie is Dead Ringer. I picked that one out because that was a formative film for me as a child. That's the movie that got me into movies. No joke. I mean,
really,
other than being already obsessed with The Wizard of Oz, I saw that thing, and it's probably not great. I haven't seen it in a very long time. But
I need to find this. I'm aware of it, but I've never seen it. I didn't even know the title of it.
It's a TCM staple. She plays a twin who, this really isn't a spoiler, even though it happens halfway into it. She plays a twin who murders her more privileged twin and then takes her place. The other film where Bette Davis plays twins is called A Stolen Life from 20 years prior.
And that one I remember too.
All right, Kayla's turn. This is the last one. This is from 1988. What was in the water in 1988? So many twin movies. Well, at least 3.
That's a lot.
The tagline is Two's Company, Four's a Riot. Andrew knows this so bad.
Big Business.
Big Business.
Great movie. I love that movie.
I haven't seen it. I've always wanted to watch it.
Oh, it's so good. It's so funny.
Okay, Josh is pausing the recording so we can all watch Big Business. Who more do you want to see playing twins? Lily Tomlin or Bette Midler? Guess what? The answer is yes. And they're going to do it in the same movie.
And it's
so
going to be
good.
it's going to be a double reversal separated where the
double
twins end up
separation.
together and they assume that they're fraternal twins.
And Country versus City.
Right.
Hello.
So they're both playing overcranked archetypes. It slays.
And then
Possible.
their husbands. Yeah, they're both
Fred Ward as like a pro mini golfer.
Fred Ward, recently departed, rest in peace, daddy. And Edward Herman, didn't he also recently die? Is there a big business curse that I'm not aware of? Yes.
Lily Tomlin.
Oh my God. Yes. Protect Bet and Lily. Well, protect Lily.
And they're like A and B personality types, but flipped depending on which set of twins you're talking about. It's so ridiculously high concept, and it should not work, and it absolutely kills. I saw that movie about a bajillion times on HBO back in my day.
Me too.
Oh God.
Okay. Thank you for indulging me. I think Betty Davis won. Why? How'd that happen?
She always.
All right. We've got one more thing. Every episode, we round out with one more thing, something we've been enjoying since our previous episode. I'm going to go first. An artist who I liked before 2022 is named Sudan Archives. She's from Cincinnati, Ohio, known for, if you knew her, for doing a sort of neo soul and also being a violinist and involving quite a bit of strings in her work. And she had a really great single called Null for Sale, and just like really great hooky vibes. But then this year she started off with the single called Homemaker, which is just a brilliant fusion of things that wouldn't mix. Tongue-in-cheek story about a woman who's very seductively a housewife. But the album is called Natural Brown Prom Queen, and it's just the most beautiful amalgamation of all of her influences, everything from R&B to girl groups to reggae. It's sort of a chronicle of the history of the past 50, 60, 70 years of Black music. And it deals specifically in liberation of the Black woman and the sexual liberation, the liberation of the body. It's really a beautiful work that's also very funny and challenging. It's Sudan Archives. The album is called Natural Brown Prom Queen. That is a mouthful, but I'm going to play a clip of one of the singles, which is NBPQ, parentheses, topless.
I know her from, I just realized I know her from, I guess an EP from a few years ago. She had a single called Come My Way or Come My Way that I really liked.
Yeah, and she has moved just sonically in crazy directions. If only for the strings and her wonderful voice would you put those two things together. But this is a very stream of consciousness, very collage-like work that she's done. And I think it's my favorite album of the year so far. It's very hooky, but it's also, like I said, pretty challenging in the way it moves through ideas and identities. And yeah, it's just this kind of beautiful inner vision of someone's life. But I'm Joshua Ray. You can find me talking about just that pretty much these days at Crispy Retinas on Letterboxd, Instagram, and Twitter. And then Andrew, what's one more thing from you?
As with most things in me, I'm coming to things late. So I just recently binged my way through HBO's show The Rehearsal, Nathan Fielder's new project. And I'm coming at this from a person who is a little bit skeptical. Like, I was not a huge fan of Nathan For You. It hit my cringe button a little too hard most of the time. So I wasn't able to, I'm not somebody who was a huge fan of it. I liked it well enough, but I didn't ever finish the series. It just got to be a bit much for me. So I was sort of skeptical going in, but oh my God, is the reversal just as good as everybody says it is? It's speaking as somebody who's one of his favorite films of the last 2 decades is Charlie Kaufman's Synecdoche, New York. It hits exactly the right, like, crazy nesting doll meta buttons as that film does. But
I've only
coming at it
seen the
from
first I've only seen the first 2 episodes, but I found them incredibly challenging and moving. But I know that there are some more even more challenging things to come ahead.
I
Yeah.
watched the whole entire thing.
yeah, I watched it in like one day. Same,
Yeah,
same
well,
thing.
I caught up with the first like 4 episodes, and then I had to watch like weekly for like the last 2. He did 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the last 2 or 3 I like caught up with.
And maybe that's the advantage to me coming to things late, is that I can just through
But
them
I don't know
after the
how
hype
you
has already died down.
I don't know how you could emotionally handle all of that in one sitting.
It was
After
brutal.
watching the first 2 episodes, I was like, what is my life? Who
It's
am
not even
I?
emotional. And it's not even emotional. Some of it starts to become so intellectually like snarled, and like there's a moment I think around episode 3 or 4 where he just sort of looks at the camera and looks at himself, and it's like, what is happening? Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, we've gone so far down the rabbit hole of like layers upon layers that he starts to lose track of what the heck is going on, and you as the viewer start to lose track, which I think is sort of the point. There's some really fascinating things. It's interesting that we're talking about this the same week that I'm talking about this the same week we're talking about Parent Trap, because it ends up at like the last half of it being actually a pretty serious minded ethical wrestling with the idea of child actors and how they are used and exploited, and the ethics of doing that, which is really fascinating and not something I really expected from it.
While also doing that, I think that's
Right.
that's just the idea I've gotten from the internet, that people are sort of upset. I've been enjoying, not having really followed the show, only seen the first 2 episodes, Richard Brody's just utter disdain for Nathan Fielder and this particular work.
I love
Yeah.
it. Fielder. I'm a stand for life. I bought the like Starbucks cup like back a long time ago. Like I've been in it. So I think he is great.
I think somebody on Twitter encapsulated it well. They said Nathan Fielder should probably win an Emmy and go do prison time for this show. That's
Well,
great.
also, I think that like what helped was if Angela like wasn't on there, like I still think it would have been just as great, but like she's just unhinged. And so
So unhinged.
just made everything like
And
that
yet,
better.
and yet he doesn't, without getting too deep into spoilers, he doesn't treat her as a villainous person for him to play off of, which I think is
Not at all.
part of the key to why it works. At any rate, if you are, so take this from somebody who is maybe more of a Fielder skeptic, listeners, watch this, because it is an incredible piece of television that sort of straddles the line between reality and scripted and auto fiction and I don't know what, like just complete down the rabbit hole Russian nesting doll of craziness. And
Very
you can
good.
find me at on Twitter at Arachnophiliac and on Letterboxd at AY at 76.
Kayla, what
Um,
about you? What you got?
Still watching Southern Charm, so
Yeah.
The saga continues. Hey, did you figure out what line I'm talking about?
no.
Let me tell you what I did. When we stopped recording that day, I went through and watched like an hour's worth of YouTube, just Southern Charm commercials. I have no idea what it is.
It's this
I've
memeable
texted-
moment that you're trying to find, right? Like this one
It is.
meme line.
It is something that I have seen 100 times and now cannot figure out because my brain is decaying from age, I guess, is what happens. I'm so angry. I've gotten so close to it. Anyway, how's
Yeah.
that new season of Southern Charms?
Well, I'm about to finish season 5, and then I'll be.
Oh my God.
But like, I'm watching the current season while I'm like rewatching like older seasons, and
Yeah.
it is helpful, but it's also a little bit confusing. So, like,
The
keeping track of
dissonance.
everything, yeah.
Right.
So, I wouldn't recommend that. I would wait until, because like season 8, they like just filmed the reunion like last week. So that I think there's like one more episode because they usually do like 14 or so like episodes, like regular episodes, and then like a 2-part reunion. So I'm assuming that like this week will be the last regular episode and then they'll do the reunion. So I would just wait. If you want to rewatch it and you're watching the current season, I would just wait until the current season is over. But yeah, and now I'm trying to choose like what my next show that I watch from the start will be, like my next reality TV show. So if anybody
we should do like
just let me know.
that's what I'm saying. We should do like a side podcast where we watch an episode and do a recap at old ones. We should do like OC
Original run of Housewives.
OG OC season 1, where Tamara's not even a real housewife yet. Like we should do that.
There's got to be a space for that, right? There's people who rewatch like old Office episodes.
Isn't Tamara coming back too?
Well, I've been so disconnected. I didn't know Tamara left.
Yeah, I think she's coming back.
Wrong, how does she know what's good for us?
Yeah.
It's her opinion.
Right. So I still am loving Southern Charm. And yeah, if anybody has any recs for other reality shows I can watch, you can let me know on Letterboxd, which is just my name.
I just want to give everyone like personal context that the 3 of us are in the throes of finalizing programming things for Slip, which is November 3rd through the 13th this year. So everything that isn't that is like the most comforting thing I can find, or like turn my brain off, please, and do this. So
this is the context for why I'm actually going to be watching that damn Star Wars series next week, so that I'm not watching documentaries.
Oh no, I know. We're almost there. But in the meantime, everyone can go read us The Lens at cinemastlouis.org. All right, we're halfway through Nancy, Nora, done one of each. And then we're going to move on to Julie and Julia, Nora Ephron's final film. And we've got Executive Director of Cinema St. Louis, Brie Maniscalco, on to talk about her pick in this series.
I've never seen Julie and Julia. I love Amy Adams, so.
Oh, I think you're going to like it. There's some, really tricky business in the screenplay and the structure, and it's really interesting and acts. Just wait 2 weeks, and then I'll have all that to say. Well, I'll have a lot to say about Julie and Julia. And until then, bon appetit.
Wow.
Why did that sound more like
Grover?
What?
That's
Grover?
what it sounded like.
I hate it.
Or Yoda if somebody was punching him in the sternum. No, just stop.
Leave it.
Just
in.
stop.